The WRC is on to its next round. It seems weird, 2 weeks gap and with an ERC event in the middle, especially given the ERC has just been in Sierra Morena. Let's talk Rally Islas Canarias. And we'll start off with the entry list of the 50th anniversary edition, taking place on Gran Canaria. Opening the road will be new championship leader Takamoto Katsuta, the first repeat winner, the first two-time winner for the WRC in 2026. Following him will be Elfyn Evans and Oliver Solberg. Then will be Adrian Fourmeau, Sami Pyrie, Sebastian Ogier, Thierry Neuville, and John Armstrong, with the Rally 1 entry list being rounded out by Josh McAlean, and for the first time this season in the third Hyundai i20N Rally 1, Danny Sordo with Candido Carrera alongside. In the WRC2, we will be led off by Leo Rossell in the Citroën C3, who played second fiddle to his brother Johan in the Lancia last time out in Croatia. WRC2 list will continue as follows, with Robert Vervege, Roberto Dapra, Arthur Pelleborg, then Val Zaldivar, Eric Cameli, Diego Dominguez, Nikolai Grajin, Giovanni Trentin, Johan Rossell, Andrea Lafaya, Alejandro Cachon, Jan Solens, Emil Lindholm, Alexei Yukanyuk, who is competing under yet another license by the looks of things, having previously been competing under a Cypriot flag, Enrique Cruz, Amide Martin, Roman Jurgensen, Mille Johansson, Yuki Yamamoto, Philip Allen, Pablo Sarrazin, Alejandro Mauro, Antonio Forney, Julio Martinez, Zoshimo Hernandez, Johan Kefferbuck, Adrian Mosca, Carlos Moreno, Miguel Granados, Maurizio Giuliani, Filippo Marcino, and that will be our WRC2 list. A real variety of cars here. Like I said, you heard that we have both the Rossells in the Citroën and the Lancia. We have the likes of Dominguez. We have the likes of a multiple-time European Rally champion, Alexei Lukanyuk, who's behind the wheel of a Fabia. Last time we've seen him, I think, was a Citroën C3. Some people who will have been at Sierra Morena, some people who will have been in Croatia, some people who may have been considering doing a triple header, 3 rallies in as many weeks. And then a couple of interesting names elsewhere in the list with a couple of interesting cars. So Forney, for example, is behind the wheel of a Fabia Evo, whilst you also have Martinez with Fiesta. And elsewhere, you can have a look through and you can see the likes of Miguel Granados with Mark Marty alongside, and Ilka Minor co-driving for Kefferbock. As for the WRC3, that is led off by Timek Abramovsky with the Ford Fiesta Rally 3, then Raul Hernandez, Giovanni Rossi, Gil Membrado, the JWRC regular, Nicolas Otto, Santiago Perez in the Sol Clio Rally 3 on the WRC3 entry list, and then Dean Mascarenhas. And outside of that, we have a variety of different cars being entered that are not competing for any particular nominated points here, such as Alejandro Martin and David Sanchez behind the wheel of Clios, Javier Asconza and Alvaro Santana behind the wheel of 208 Rally 4s, Nicolas Castellano behind the wheel of another Clio, and then two more 208 Rally 4s for Leonardo Rankel and Manuel Naranjo, and the entry list being rounded out by 2 Clio RS lines for Pedro Peñate and Rafael Olivero. All in all, 59 cars on the WRC's entry list. As for the stages, it will be opened up with the shakedown in Santa Brigida. That was the shakedown as well last year, so it'll be familiar for the drivers. What will not be familiar is the new Super Special that will be run on Thursday evening and Friday evening. The basketball stadium is being replaced with Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, the football stadium this time around. 2 kilometers of stage. It has in the past showed up as the start and finish for the 2020 and 2021 editions. But yeah, It's going to be a nice little super special. I believe it will feature a sort of, well, it looks like it's a dual kind of head-to-head with some donuts in one bit and some sliding hairpins in another. No proper crossover. Then on Friday, the 2 loops will open up with Velasco Artenara, 13.13 kilometers. It is slightly shorter than last year's edition, but there are some changes that have been recently happening with the itinerary as a result of storms damaging the roads in the region on the island. Then you have Teeda San Mateo next, 18.62 kilometers even. It is on a slightly different route to what we have seen before. It has previously featured as the shakedown in Islas Canarias, and last year's edition of it borrowed about half the stage that serves the first half this time around. Then the 2 loops rounded up by Mogan La Aldea, 21.7 kilometers. It's got a bit of a climb up and then a bit of a drop down towards La Aldea de San Nicola. This also featured last year, being run in the opposite direction, with a couple of kilometers added on to the end of the stage this time around, with the stage itself ending in the town. Like I previously mentioned, the second run of the Las Palmas de Gran Canaria stage will be rounding out Friday's action. Saturday will open up with Maspalomas, which was in last year's edition. I think this didn't serve as the power stage last year. It's a fast descent down from 600 meters above sea level to ending about 150 meters above sea level, all along, well, in a large part of it, the GC60 main road. Then you have the Arucas Fergas Terror test, 13.74. This one is instead a bit of a climb with some slalomy hairpins towards the town of Terror to end the test. 13.74 kilometers. It did feature last year and it is featured unchanged this time around. Whilst we also have the last stage in both loops is via Galdar. This is 28.9 kilometers of test, and it did not feature in the WRC last year. It did feature the ERC in previous editions in 2 different ways. The Artenara Galdar test, which borrowed a couple of 100 meters, and then the Maya Vasilesco test, which borrowed more or less the first half of the stage. So people who are familiar with this test will be feeling somewhat confident, especially in the first half, as you climb up to over 1,000 meters above sea level, and then you drop back down a little bit towards the end. This is going to be a fun little run. Meanwhile, Sunday has 2 tests. Ingenio Telda Bascaquillo will start off the action, 25.93 kilometers. Starts off about 600 meters above sea level, climbs up to nearly 1,300. I think it's the highest point of the rally. Drops all the way down to 400 around a hairpin near Loma Magulo, and then climbs back up again towards Bascaquillo de Gran Canaria. This is the stage that did feature last year, though it featured in the opposite direction, and at the same time, the first 8 kilometers of this test will be new to most competitors. I believe that it's, I'm going to go through and see when the last time it was when you might have had something a bit similar. And I don't think that there is anything that has been quite the same as this particular test. Some of the roads have been the same, but mostly that first 8 kilometers, unless you're going back 15, nearly 20 years, is going to be new to competitors. And then you have the Santa Lucia Aguimes test, which you can drive, I believe, in Richard Burns Rally. 13.27 kilometers. It will serve as the rally ending power stage, and it did feature in last year's edition as a 15-kilometer test. And I believe this is one of the ones where they've had to redirect some of the route, with the first 3 kilometers being new because of the storm damages. As for last year's edition, Carlo Rovanperä was dominant. He led the rally from start to finish, won the shakedown, won all but 3 stages in the rally. We got to the last stage on Saturday, the second run of Las Palmas to Gran Canaria, before he hadn't won a stage. And that was Elfyn Evans. And then we had, of course, the Costa Canaria test, the kart circuit test, which was a 3-way tie between 3 Frenchmen in Adrien Formosa, Ogier and Johan Rossel. The second run of the Aguiba Santa Lucia test was won by Ogier as well last year, albeit half a second slower than Carlo Rovanperä was in the morning run of the same test. He won by nearly a minute, and it was a Toyota 1, 2, 3, 4. So given the 3 of them are back this time around, could be interesting, couldn't it? But that's that for this video, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching and joining. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you next week or later this week, whenever this video is coming out. This is when we get to talk about this event. But till then, from me, it's bye-bye for now.